Buenas tardes and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eric Tomala. I am the coordinator, academic advisor, and assistant director for Latin American and Caribbean Studies Center. And I would like to give you a warm welcome on behalf of our staff and also our directora, Doctora Isabel Alcañiz, who at the moment is traveling in Argentina and she couldn't be here today, but she sends her best to all of us. We continue celebrating Central American Week, and our guests today are students from Helping Honduras UND chapter. They will talk about their organization. I would like to remind you that we're recording this event and also that the Latin American Caribbean Studies Center offers a minor and certificate in Latin American Caribbean Studies to our undergraduate students, as well as a graduate certificate program that started this semester. Please remember to mute your microphone, and we will have some Q&A at the end. So without further ado, I would like to invite the members of the Student Helping Honduras. If you could please introduce yourself, let us know about your major and what role do you have in your organization? Perhaps Gabriel?
Yeah, my name appears as Gabriel on Zoom, but I go by Gabe. I'm a mechanical engineer here at UMD, and I'm also a fundraising chair for Students Helping Honduras.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I am a journalism major, and I am one of the marketing and media chairs for Students Helping Honduras.
Thanks.
I'm VJ Modi. I don't have any formal position within the club, but I greatly appreciate the work it does, and I'm glad to be a member of it.
Awesome, thanks.
My name is Joel. I'm also a member of the club. I don't have an official position, but I'm a part of it.
Not sure if Ashley is part of the team, but I just want to acknowledge Dr. Ralph Bauer. It's our Associate Dean at RHU. Thank you so much for joining and being here with us today. Thank you. Gabe, would you like to talk a little bit about the beginnings of the organization? Give us some introduction to Students Helping Honduras.
The organization as a whole is about 13 or 14 years old at this point, and our founder, his name is Shin Fujiyama, basically created this organization after having a trip down in Honduras, and he felt moved by the people there and the culture, and he saw that there was a lot of work to be done to improve the situation, gang violence and poverty and educational disparity, and so him, along with his sister, I believe, helped found the organization, and they've been making a lot of progress with building schools. I think we're up to 60-something schools since the organization has been founded. And then here at UMD, we are one of the oldest chapters that the organization has. So we're also one of the most successful that the organization has. And so here at UMD, we sort of set the tone and set the example for a lot of the other chapters around the country. Jessica, could you say anything might be missing?
Yeah, so one of the main functions of Students Helping Honduras since its inception, because Shin did volunteer during his college years, is a lot of volunteer work on the college level. So Students Helping Honduras, pardon me, functions primarily through the use of chapters. So every single university that is involved with Students Helping Honduras has a specific chapter. And it's even bled down to a few high schools here and there. So that's primarily how we function. And one of the primary parts of this organization is when we get to go down to Honduras once a year. So throughout the year, how a typical year goes is that we'll fundraise for a specific school. A school costs $30,000 to build. So our chapter, we just finished up fundraising for a school that we had started before COVID, but we just finished that up. So we're now starting on our next project for $30,000. So we will partner with a community. So they will request Students Helping Honduras for a partnership to provide a school for them. It can either be starting a whole new school district from the ground up, or it can be, for example, the project that we just finished, we're constructing a high school to finish their full K through 12 education. So we'll be fundraising $30,000 for our next school. And when we go back in January, which is still our plan, we're still planning to go January 2nd through the 9th, we'll be inaugurating the school that we just finished, and then we'll break ground on the school that we are fundraising for right now. So that's a key feature of the program. However, if students are not able to go to Honduras or the timing doesn't work out, there are other trips throughout the year, and we fundraise all throughout the year. So there's always an event to go to. So yeah, that's just a little bit about the organization.
It's wonderful. Thank you so much. I mean, this is a great, tremendous amount of work, and it's just wonderful. And I want to thank you for going to Honduras and helping Latin America. So just kind of going a little bit before that, what is the process of joining the organization? Is there do you have to be in a particular time within? In Yeah, I think
This is actually
yeah.
quite a fun story. My freshman year, I was in a program for other biology majors, and my peerman and a sophomore, like he gave me advice, like he was a peer mentor or something like, and he was my my friend Nick. He happened to be in the organization. So my freshman year, I went to one meeting. I kind of forgot about it afterwards. But then this year comes around. I sit next to this guy in lecture the first Friday of the year, and it's still hot. It's like last week of August, so I'm wondering why he's wearing a sweatshirt. And he explained that morning he went to DC to fundraise for the club, and I think I remembered, oh yeah, Nick was in that. So then I started going to the meetings again, and I really enjoyed it. And here I am now.
So essentially, it's just going to the meetings, participating that way, and eventually getting more involved into the process.
Yeah, so the way for people to sign up, it's not even really a sign up. We just encourage people to join our group me, and since we post all of our events and all of our everything that happens within the club goes through the group me, and then people who want to become more involved show up to the meetings that we have every Wednesday at 7, and go to. They typically also do at least one of the fundraisers that we have regularly. So we have one Krispy Kreme Friday where we go down to DC and sell Krispy Kreme donuts to passerbys and commuters going into work every week, every morning, bright and early. So it's really a very simple process to join the club. We're very welcoming. You can show up to a meeting, not knowing anybody, as a friend of somebody, not even being in the group me, and we'll take you in and we'll show you the ropes. So, yeah.
I think that's something that's a key feature that I think we should mention is that Students Helping Honduras, unless you're on the executive board, does not have any set time commitment. This is a really great club to join if you're busy or if every once in a while you have a day where you just want to hang out with some friends or do some charity work. And so you can come as much or as little as fits into your schedule. I understand that being back from COVID, it's been a little bit overwhelming.
Right.
So if people just want to join a club that fits into their schedule, we can help provide that and make their experience, be to the fullest, no matter if you come twice a week to our events or if you come once a month or just come to Honduras with us. There's always a way that SHH can fit into your schedule.
And how is the process in terms of going there? Because I think that's perhaps one of the highlights, right? Just traveling and helping. How is that process?
So we look forward to it every year, and we didn't get to go this year in 2021,
Right.
which was a real bummer because it is such a feature of our program. So we're always planning for our next trip to Honduras. So leading up, we start to give out trip information at the beginning of the semester. So we started doing that in August, and we start to organize, we'll find out what school that we're building, which we don't know yet. So we'll find out soon, specifically where we're going to be building. We start to go over some of the itinerary stuff. We'll post like a Google Sheets to figure out your flight. You don't have to fly down there alone. We can always go and come back as a group. Um, and leading up to it, we make sure that all of the logistics are done, that everybody's flight, everybody's shots, medications, everything like that. All of the information is provided. Because when I went as a freshman 2 years ago, I had no idea what I needed in preparation for a trip like this. But it's always a very transparent and easy process. There's always somebody in the club who is able to help you get through that process. And if there's ever somebody who needs their family or their parents that wants to know more information, we can always set up a meeting, because we do know that it is a big trip to make over your winter break. So we always want to make sure that everybody has the most information and preparation. We can always set you up with somebody else who's higher up in Students Helping Honduras. And we really just try to make the trip as accessible as possible. So we'll talk about it every single week, reminders, get your passport updated, everything like that.
I mean, it's going on a field trip is challenging, even more going out of the country. So that's really impressive what you all do over there. I have a couple of questions. In fact, I would like to acknowledge Raul Medrano, who is joining right now. Raul is part of our community, is an alumni. He's also from Honduras and has a lot of experience. And I'm very excited to invite him to this conversation because he might bring some good ideas or create a bigger network. Right? So thank you, Raul, for coming today.
Thank you very much. I'll just put something in the chat. So thank you, Eric.
Absolutely. So so you guys are trying to every year to put together $30,000 fundraise. That takes a lot of work. Do you also have to fundraise for your ticket and expenses and things like that, or how does it work?
So we have a lot of opportunities to fundraise throughout the year, and how it functions is that you need $650 for the trip itself. That'll pay for your food while you're there, your lodging, and then part of it also goes towards the school in the end as well. So your $650, none of it is pocketed. It's not extra. You're paying the bare minimum. It's the
Yeah.
cheapest traveling club here at UMD. So it's $650 for the trip, and then whatever the Spirit airline rates are for your flight. That's the only other cost. Food is provided, your shelter is provided. It's a very low cost trip in general. But you can chip away at your $650 actually. So if you're a part of a fundraiser and say that 5 people showed up and it made $500, it's divided up amongst the 5 of you, and $100 is put into your name. And if you're able to fundraise $1,000 under your name throughout the semester, then you get half off of the $650. So every time that you come to something, you can chip a little bit off of your trip. Okay. But if there's ever a concern about financials, we can always talk that through if that is of concern and if that's the thing preventing somebody from coming to Honduras with us.
That's pretty neat. When is a good time in your academic life, at the university, during your first couple years towards the end? When it's probably the best time to join or to go to Honduras and help, if you have that,
I think, well, I joined right at the beginning of my junior year. I'm a senior now. And one of the things that I really thought about the most while I've been here is that I wish I joined earlier. I think this is one of the clubs that you can have for all 4 years of college easily. And it's such a great community to be a part of. You're really doing a lot in terms of making a difference. There's just so much room to grow within the club, and as a human being as well. I feel like this is a very welcoming and just a nice environment to be in.
Definitely. I mean,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Do you say something?
I feel that the club is very welcoming, as the others have emphasized. I don't think there's a specific time you want to join because essentially it's on a continuous basis. Like they fundraise every week. We do our work regularly. We reach out, and every January there is the trip to Honduras, such that there is not really a set time limit, if that makes sense. It's more about the community service itself than it is about like checking off a box. If that makes sense.
Right, right. Wonderful.
I
And
think
can
that the
you?
best way can oh sorry, the
No,
best way
go
to
ahead,
sum it
Jess.
up is that it's never you're never too early to join, but you're also never too late to join us. So anytime that you can come, we're always going to welcome you. If COVID prevented you from joining us back in 2020, you can still come now. So it's available to anybody. If you're a senior, if you're a freshman, anywhere in between.
Wonderful. Thank you. I mean, I asked these questions because we, like I said at the beginning, we offer a certificate and a minor in Latin American Caribbean Studies. And we have a large number of undergraduate students who will definitely benefit from being part of your group, of your organization. So, and we're going to be, broadcasting this talk with them and to the world. Can you walk us through the actual process of once you land, once you get there, um, what happened? And you have what, about a week or so to build, or at least to start at school.
Yeah. So the trip, as soon as you land, we had kind of a day where we just kind of get acclimated to the hostel that we're staying in. We stay at Villa Soleada Hostel. Villa Soleada is a town that was originally built by Shin and the founders of Students Helping Honduras. So that's kind of our home base. In Villa Soleada, there's the bilingual school, there's a children's home, and then there's the hostel. So that's our little community that SHH is a part of. And then the next day, our first day, we'll go and inaugurate the school that we had built the year prior. So that's a typical year. It's just the year prior,
Right.
not 2 years prior. But so we'll inaugurate that school. There'll usually be a small ceremony. You get to know some of the members of the community. And then after that, we'll go to our new site and we'll break ground on it. So again, it's another thing where the whole community gets together and we start digging. And what our work typically is on the work site is, I think it's 4 to 5 days typically, where we'll be digging, the trenches of the school. We'll be putting together some of the rebar. We'll be mixing cement. So we have 4 to 5 days of that. And then on our last day, we have a beach day, kind of more fun hangout type thing. But every single night, we will also have some sort of program to educate ourselves about Honduras, some of the governmental background of it, socioeconomic background, stuff like that. Because when I went to Honduras, I frankly did not know very much about the history of it, why we're helping them specifically. So we go over some of the political unrest. We'll go over the social breakdown, the economic breakdown of the country. So it's not just about us dropping in and helping out for a week. It's really about understanding why we're doing it and understanding why Honduras. So that's pretty much what happens in a trip. And some of the unspoken stuff that won't be in an itinerary is that you get really close with the people that you're traveling with. And so those friendships and those bonds are a really strong and important thing, including the ones that you make with the community. I mean, I'm still friends with one of the moms on Facebook, and she'll message me, and her daughter likes to text me. So it's just a really great experience.
That's pretty neat. I'm actually thinking, as we every year we budget for classes and trying to find interesting courses for our students. I'm just wondering if it will be beneficial at some point to put together a course on Honduras, so you all can register and take a course that might help you to get some of that background without really interrupting the flow of things that already you have established, right, at Student Helping Honduras. So that will be probably something to look for us. So that's actually exciting. So let me ask you a couple of things. I mean, basically, you are, as some of you perhaps don't never mix cement and things like that. Do you have people over there that got you through the process? Are there any other staff perhaps that are part of the organization living there?
Yeah, so we always want to say that we're the sidekicks. to the people who are on the ground. So we're there for a week. We're not superhumans. We don't build a school in a week, especially if I'm on the crew with everybody. So we definitely like to put a lot of credit in the hands of the Honduran Masons. They're employed year round. So when we leave, they're the ones who are building, and they can definitely work a lot quicker than we can. So we never like to take credit for all of it. The Honduran Masons will show us exactly what to do. Sometimes if you're not doing it correctly, they'll show you how to do it in a much quicker way. I know from personal experience. But there are people year round who Students Helping Honduras employs. So that's what part of our trip totals will go to. It goes towards payment of our workers. And so we have a dedicated crew of Masons who you'll see on the work site typically every year. So yeah, we never like to claim that we're superhuman builders. We're just there to assist for the week and to get to know the community.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like going to study the Peace Corps versus actually being in the Peace Corps.
Okay, that's a good way to put it. Thank you. In terms of the language, how do you have to have some, I guess in this case, Spanish background, or how does it work? How's that interaction language wise?
So going on the trip, I did not know, frankly, any Spanish. But what it did do for me is that it kickstarted my desire to learn. So since going, I'm now on my 4th Spanish class. I'm now a Spanish minor.
Congratulations, that's awesome.
Thank you. I really do enjoy it. So whether you know nothing or you're fluent like Gabe is, it's a pretty good club for that. We have student translators from the bilingual school who will actually come with us daily, and they'll translate between us and the community members if needed, between us and the Masons. So we'll always have somebody who can translate, so the language barrier isn't as distinct. It's obviously helpful if you do know a little bit of Spanish yourself. You can always improve it while you're in the club. A few of us are Spanish minors. A lot of us speak some degree of Spanish, but it's definitely not a requirement.
I mean, that's exciting, that as part of this initiative, you are going to leave the University of Maryland with a language and with an additional certificate. So that's awesome. I really, from an academic point of view, as an academic advisor, I can tell you that that's sort of the highlight of anyone in my position. So that's pretty neat. Thank you, Jessica, for sharing that. So basically, and let's talk a little bit about the food. How's that process? Who cooks? Do you get to learn a little bit about the food? Do you like the food? I hope you do.
So daily at the hostel, there are a few very dedicated workers who will cook. Mostly it's our breakfast and our dinner. So they'll cook us, rice and beans. Sometimes we'll have oatmeal. Sometimes there'll be eggs. So it's just traditional day-to-day type food in Honduras. And then when we're on the work sites, the moms of the community will actually provide us with lunch. And the food was always fantastic. It was very out of my comfort zone, but there wasn't anything that I didn't like.
Right.
And there is one day, hopefully we'll get to do it. I don't know with COVID, but we'll break off into groups, and we'll go into a few of the homes of the people in the community, and they'll teach us how to make baleadas. And baleadas, it's the tortilla with the refried beans, and we'll usually make them with eggs and avocado. And it was really good. I had never had one before, but now I can't wait to go back and eat it again. So you really do get like a little taste of Honduras through the food.
That's wonderful. I think that's one of the best way to get to know a culture, an actual place is through food. That's fantastic. I do have to tell you that I tried to reach out your founder. Of course, it's really difficult to. I think he's in Honduras, right? He's permanently there. So hopefully we can at some point interview him for our podcast. That will be a wonderful thing. This conversation makes me wanting to work with you even more in terms of we offer an internship. We have an internship program, and perhaps there might be in the near future a way to earn some credits while you do some of the work that you are committed, right? So I think that will be an interesting thing. So I'm just getting some ideas from this conversation. I do have. I'm going to go back to one of the questions about money and sustainability. You got the $30,000 and then build this school, but how will that school sustain or maintain? If Do you also have to fundraise for extra for that, or who is in charge of that part of the school?
So, when we built the school, Students Helping Honduras partners with the community, and that's a long term project. According to data that SHH has published, schools typically increase staff, they increase enrollment, and they'll help to provide the funds and materials for the school in the long term because we never want to build a school just to let it go to waste. So, we always like to have a partnership. We always want to um, provide the schools with the tools that they need to succeed, not just an empty building. The educational system in Honduras can't be fixed with just dropping a school down in every community and saying have a nice day. It's an ongoing process, and that's what Students Helping Honduras is really about. So I know that when I went, I packed my suitcase up until the 50-pound mark with school supplies, and you can donate school supplies, you can donate toiletries, stuff like that. So while it is dependent on donations, SHH will always be partnering with the communities that they've helped in the past.
In addition to that, the organization itself actually offers a lot of teaching abroad opportunities. So a lot of the time, it'll endorse, especially people coming out of college and who have been involved with the organization. Like if they're going into an education profession, they will spend, a year or two teaching, English, or if they're fluent in Spanish, they'll teach another subject, but they'll teach in the schools that they have built and sort of create a foundation in that way academically.
So there's opportunity after you graduate to continue collaborating with them in one or another way.
Yes.
That's wonderful. And right now, how many students do you have in your group, and what typically are the majors, or is it all over?
It's all over, honestly. As for numbers, I'm not really. I don't know, just if you know, because like we have a group meet with we have like everyone sign up, and just as she mentioned with volunteering, it's like you can put in as many hours as you want. So I would say there's probably like what 20 to 30 are who's like very active, but and we have
Mhm.
many more that like volunteer, offer other times smaller amount of hours. But like I know for myself, I'm a chemical engineer, and I know for a fact that my major doesn't really help out with this. And I don't know Spanish, but it doesn't really matter. All are welcome.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Ethan. I mean, that's really nice. One of the things that we're trying to do really at the Latin American Korean Studies Center, and I think it's working fine, and it's very unique um, on campus, and that is, yeah, for the most part, students come from different fields. They're interested in different things, but somehow they're able to interconnect, you know, um, what they want to do with Latin America, and that's just prime. That's beautiful, and I think I see the same thing with your organization. Do you have any support from the university? Are there any scholarships, or is this something that doesn't happen?
My understanding as of right now, the university itself doesn't provide much in terms of scholarships or anything like that. We, as a chapter, reach out to different um, organizations in search of grants and stuff like that um, throughout the year. But there isn't really a whole lot of communication between us as an entity and the university. And I think being on the executive board this year has really made me see how important that relationship could be.
Yeah.
And it's definitely something that in my time here I want to sort of establish, which is why I'm so excited to be here today doing this. Because I think there's a lot of opportunity in, not just with scholarship and money, but also just, having that backing of the university that we're all a part of.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it will be important that to look into that direction. I think that at this point, after so many years, you have plenty of data to show the awesome work that you do, and perhaps helping to find funding for scholarships. That will be one good mission for the institution, I think. Um, have you or are you in conversations with members of the community of the Honduran community here in the DMV area?
Also, as far as I know of,
We aren't.
no.
It's
um,
definitely a place that we want to reach out, though. That's on our bucket list for sure. Since COVID started, everything has kind of, slowed down. We started paying attention to our COVID funds and the hurricane funds for Students Helping Honduras instead of our typical area focus. But that is something that we would definitely be open to in the future.
Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna invite Raul in a second to has some good questions and comments. But I think it will be important, and I'm the the reason why we're doing this event is really because we want to celebrate Central America, and we want to make sure that the institution, the university itself, knows that we're institutionalized in Central American Week, and that we're doing events during the month of October every year. So next year, hopefully, we will invite you again and do something, and perhaps think about ways where we can collaborate and do an event that reach out to the Honduran community here. Perhaps that's one way, to contribute, to find a little bit of extra funding, for what you're doing. So I think that's one kind of advice suggestion. And I know Raul, you raise your hand, so please you can unmute and ask your question or your comment.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Eric. I appreciate it. And as a University of Maryland alum, College Park campus undergrad studies, it's great to know that such a group exists now on the campus. Back when I was going to school there, I would look around the classroom and there was only really one person that looked Latino, and that was me, pretty much. So times have changed and evolved, and it's great to see the changing demographics and presence of the focus on Central America as well, and on Honduras in particular. Um, what I would say is with the nonprofit that I'm a board member, which I just joined about a year ago, more or less, was as a result of Hurricane Eta and Ota. That was last October and November of last year. And this organization is based in the DMV, and these are Hondurans that live here, business people, leaders, community, what have you. They sent containers worth of supplies and things to Honduras in record time. They also provide some assistance with housing, financial assistance as needed, job placement, and what have you. It's all volunteer, basically. And we're trying to create a database ourselves of identifying Honduran-owned businesses and leaders. We're a very dispersed community. We're kind of in the shadows. We're not like other communities that I've seen from Latin America. Colombiano, you see, flag waving. El Peruano, you see, very visible. El Mexicano, it's everywhere, right? So, but Hondurans don't have the tradition of the flag waving, of here I am, this is what we're about, and this is what we're doing. And so it's the idiosyncrasy of the culture, I guess, in a sense. And I think that's where the challenge is, and that's where the opportunities are, is to identify and get people more involved with civic causes and things of that nature. We're about to do a fundraiser, as a matter of fact. We've identified 4 properties in the northern region of Honduras, Copan, Intibucá, and Ocotepeque, of people that need a new roof put on their home and some siding as well. It's the best we could do to help some families in need in that regard. Our family has a lot of history with Honduras after Hurricane Mitch. This was back in 99, 2000, which we created this foundation called Celtino. Why Celtino? Because my sister-in-law is of Scottish descent, and she plays Gaelic music, and she's a Grammy nominee, and she's married to my brother, and Tino for Latino. So it was a fusion of the word that we created. And at first, it started out with housing through Habitat for Humanity, and then decided to transition to the area of education, which is what you're doing, and building brick and mortar schools in rural Honduras in Copan region, which is where our family is from, coffee region as well, and built various schools there, K through 6 type of thing. Had some students on scholarships as well, and then we evolved in 2010 to do medical brigades and dental brigades. So the sustainability factor that you bring up, Eric, is very important. As we did this, then the local municipalidades, municipal leaders say, wow, you guys have done all this work. Well, maybe we need to kick in some money into the kitty. That's right. Maybe you need to create maybe now a community health center. That's right, because these brigades are only temporary. This isn't a permanent fix. That's why they're brigades. We're not about little aid, right? But it's not going to solve completely the access that people need to public health. So we started with dental brigade first, and we've evolved now into vaccinations and early detections of things. And so now the municipal mayor of that region, they're looking to establish and create now a community clinic of sort as well. A lot of this is, as we say in Spanish, despertando conciencia. You're trying to raise the awareness of a need. Again, people cannot miss something that you've never had. So if you've never had access to healthcare, how in the heck are you going to miss it? Never had access to it, right? But it's your right to have it. Education, same thing. People were used to having to send their kids 2 hours away just to go to elementary school. And so in these rural areas, that's what what's what we have to do. No, you don't have to do that. We can build something right here. But that takes a lot of work. And thanks to my brother and his wife and their vision and other partners, we were able to get a lot of volunteers involved and get things going in that regard. So yes, we have some experience family-wise in doing things in Honduras as well. We understand some of the challenges that are there, but there are a lot of wonderful opportunities to do some things. And entrepreneurship I bring up because we have our family business of coffee that we import and bring in, and we roast locally and distribute locally. But all of this is part of a sustainability factor that Eric was talking about. How do we create opportunities of sustainability economically that are fair for our community in Honduras as well, especially in the rural areas? I was just there for a whole month, from June through July, with my wife and son. Most people I talk with were saying, hey, I want to go north, or I want to go to Spain. Because of the lack of opportunities that are there for work, for education, and access to a lot of things. It's tough. I mean, especially COVID made it all even worse now. It made the situation even more challenging and difficult. So I think there's a lot of work to be done. There's elections coming up, presidential elections at the late November. All 3 parties, are, in my opinion, is just not very promising. And so there's a lot of work to be done. And I think investing in education, which is what you're talking about, was one of the things that we decided to do with our foundation. Why? Because education is something that you can never take away from someone. A house can be blown over again by another hurricane, and then you got to start all over again. But when you educate a people, that's something they carry with them wherever they go. And when we were doing these brigades, a lot of the young volunteers that we had from the local communities, teenagers and such, are now studying nursing. We have 2 that are surgeons now in the group, or on that pathway. But why? Because they saw people that looked and sounded like them say, wow, that person's doing it, I could possibly do that. So that's important, is to have that be part of your mission as well, and to create these opportunities and a better vision for them. To be self-sustaining. You want to give them fish, but you want to teach them to fish, is the motto that we like to also share out. And so entrepreneurship, I think, is also important when we're talking and working with our communities as well over in Honduras, and even here as well too. I know a lot of Hondureños inmigrantes that are set up construction companies locally, restaurants, cleaning services, what have you. I have a little bit of everything in my network, but I'd be happy to work with you guys as students, kindred spirits, and feel free to reach out to me. Here's my phone number. My email is there as well. and hopefully we'll get some follow up from some of you. I have a class that I have to teach right now at 6, coming on Zoom as well. And but I appreciate, Eric, the opportunity to meet the students, to give back in some way to the university, and I hope that this can be something that we can further develop for Central America and Honduras in particular, and other initiatives
Um,
that may come up.
def-
Thank you. Gracias.
thank you. Yeah, gracias también, Raúl. You have someone. I think this is a good opportunity to learn that there is a community here in the area that can help you and support and provide ideas. So that will be wonderful. So you can keep growing and maintaining. I know that it's challenging because all the time students graduate and leave, and then how to be sustainable at that level, and then how to be sustainable at all of this other levels. So I'm very thankful for the time that you have given us today. And before we end, I would like to to some of you, if you could end this conversation with perhaps one anecdote, one moment uh, that made your day in Honduras or within the process, something that highlighted your life and perhaps even change the path that you were on.
Um, so I mentioned earlier that there was a little girl who I befriended while I was on the work site, and she was 6 years old, and her name was Genesis. And I also mentioned that I didn't really speak much Spanish at the time, and she didn't speak any English. But that really didn't matter. We were drawing pictures one day, and she drew a heart, and then she pointed to it, and she said corazon. And then I drew a heart, and I said heart, and then she said heart. And so we started
Mhm.
finding new things to draw and telling each other the words that correlated with them. And that was the moment that I thought, I want to learn how to speak Spanish so I don't have to draw pictures to tell her different things that I'm feeling or want to say. But it also just showed me that you can create a community in a country that you had previously no connection to. I
Yeah.
mean, growing up, I've done traveling. I'd never been to Latin America. I'd never been to South America. I never thought I would for a long time. So choosing to go to Honduras was really just kind of an off the cuff decision. When I called my mom and I said, "Hey, I want to go to Honduras," she was like, "You've only been at school for 2 weeks and now you want to go to Honduras." I mean, um, like, what happened? But I went with my gut, and that moment drawing with Genesis made me want to stay in the club. And now I'm 3 years in, marketing and media chair, and everything about this club has been so beneficial to my college experience.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's very powerful. Very powerful. Gabe?
Uh, my anecdote is coming from the other side of the pond in terms of I haven't been on the trip with the club. However, I am from Honduras myself. I moved here when I was 3 with my family, and I've always had a very strong sense of national pride. Um, I believe in my country fully, and I still consider that my home. And for a long time in my life, I felt being here in America was nice for me individually, and for my family, but I felt like I couldn't, or there wasn't a lot of opportunity to help, my family or, in my country back home. So finding this organization and this club here at UMD really changed how I prioritize the things that I want to do with my life. So it gave me a direction of having goals in terms of wanting to improve, the lives of people that I care about, and, including people that I haven't met before. And so this experience to be with this club and to raise the money that we have, um, and to influence some of these members that are coming in now is so special. And just seeing so many people, care is very heartwarming. and it's very nice. And it's something I mean, I'm 22, which might seem very young for you guys, but it's a long time to be away from home, and so
Yep.
it was easy to start to forget and to sort of move on almost, and just think my life is here now. But having this and having it reinvigorated like my desire to push past that and then stay connected with who I consider to be my people.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that very, you know, personal. I have to tell you that I'm not from Honduras, I'm from Ecuador, but when I moved to the US, that's when I started kind of falling in love with Latin America and falling in love with my country and learning even more. So those are the experience, and I think that a lot of us sort of discover that we have a country once we're not in the country. So that experience of being outside, it also helps us and shape us in better ways, I guess, right? Anybody else wants to share last?
I
Uh,
just
so,
I
oh,
just put in the chat real quick, and because I got to go to my class to
Sure.
teach. But yeah, I mean, I could relate to Gabriel in a different perspective because for me, my first time traveling to Honduras was with my mom at the age of 21. I'd never traveled anywhere outside the U.S. until that age. Okay, and when I went for the first time, it was an eye-opening experience for me in every sense of the word. And it's just this whole new world opened up for me, my place in this world, and my identity as such. So even though I was born in Washington D.C., both of my parents are from obviously, but I always embraced that side throughout college. And when you're born here as a Latino, when you're born here, you kind of get lost in the shuffle. Because I grew up, I'm 57 years old. I grew up in a very black and white world. There wasn't a lot of brown or anything in between.
Mhm.
And so that's the world that I grew up in. And so in college, stage where all of you guys are at, that's when I started having the identity of, okay, this is who I am and this is what I'm about. And this is what I'm going to carry forward. And I made a very conscientious decision to be bilingual, to work in Spanish language media for 15 years, to expand my language and knowledge and engage with culture and what have you. So you guys are at a critical age in your life, in your early 20s right now. Hell, I mean, you're laying the foundation for what's to come after you're done with college. I mean, that this is a good experience that you guys are going through, and write it because this Washington D.C. metropolitan area serves these types of interests: USAID, the World Bank, IDB, all these international organizations, nonprofits, think tanks. I mean, you're in the center of all of that here. So take advantage of that, embrace it. And for those of you that are not Honduran and are non-native Spanish speakers, I commend you as well, because that's even more special to see you involved and engaged in this way as well. So with that, I leave you. Thank you very much,
Thank you
Eric.
so much. Thank
All
you.
right,
Thank
and
you.
let's stay in touch. I love getting the emails from you, and I'll join them, and I share them out at the school that I teach at in DC at Carlos Rosario International Public Charter School for adult immigrant English language learners. So definitely, I'd like to network more, and for the group, if you ever want to reach out to me, and let's see how we can work together, I'm here for you. Okay.
Thank you so much,
Thank you very
Raul.
much. Gracias.
And thank you,
Good night.
everyone. Thank you. And, remember that we have the center, the Latin American Caribbean Studies Center. We offer this minor, the certificate, and hopefully we can work together in order to help you build this wonderful thing that you have in Honduras. So again, thank you. Gracias. Best of the best. And we will be in touch for sure.
It was
Bye-bye.
a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I appreciate it.
Idea.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Gracias. Bye-bye.
This podcast was brought to you by the Latin American and Caribbean Studies Center at the University of Maryland. Please follow us in YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and listen to the next podcast. Thank you y nos vemos.